Welcome, Special Agents, to the Agents tutorial. The Agents is a spy-themed tactical card game for 2 to 5 players. To begin the game, you're going to need to shuffle the Agent deck and deal 3 cards to each player. I'm going to set this up for 3 players. Afterwards, the deck can remain in the center of the table within reach of all players. Then you're going to need to shuffle the Mission deck and deal 8 mission cards face up to the center of the table. Any duplicate cards can be placed one on top of the other. And afterwards, that deck can be placed in the center of the table as well, within reach of all players. Then you can take the Intel points or IP tokens and place them in the center of the table and deal 2 points to each player. Then you're going to take a number of safe houses equal to the number of players and place one in between each player, so that you have the black arrows pointed towards you on your left and the white arrows pointed towards you on your right. And lastly, each player can take a handy reference card, and now you're ready to play. Determine the first player randomly. They will begin the game, and then the turn will proceed clockwise. When it is your turn, you can perform up to 2 actions. The actions you can perform are as follows. The first type of action you can perform is to take an agent from your hand and place it on the far ends of one of the safe houses adjacent to you. Each side of a safe house can only hold a maximum of 4 agents, unless you're playing with 2 players, in which case the maximum is 5 on either side. Each agent card has 2 halves to them. The top half has the token half arrows, which can come in black or white, and the bottom half are known as commands. This is important because when you're placing your agent, you can determine the orientation, and you will only receive the benefits of which half is pointed towards you. And so conversely, when you place an agent down, it means that you're giving your opponent the other half of the card that is not facing towards you. The safe houses and the cards played next to them are known as factions. So you have one faction on your right and one on your left, and these factions are shared between the players who are adjacent with you as well. The second action you can perform is to activate a command on an agent card that's directed towards you. The third action you can perform is to buy one of the mission cards in the center of the table. To do this, you simply pick which one you want to take and pay 2 IP tokens for it. After taking the mission, you will replace it with another one from the mission deck. And the fourth action you can perform is to draw an agent card. However, keep in mind they can only have a maximum of 4 agents in your hand. Before we move on to the mission phase, which comes after the action phase, let's talk about the different commands that can appear on cards. These commands can also be found on the back of your reference card, so keep that handy. The first action on the reference card is to move. When you move an agent card, you're moving it in such a way that its orientation maintains the same, but you're changing its location. So here, I can pick this agent up, maintain its orientation, and place it in a different faction. The second command is to turn. You simply rotate a card 180 degrees. The third action is to extract. You simply take the card, pick it up, and place it into your hand. If it's ever the case that you're taking a card and leaving a gap, after taking the cards, you will close the gap. The fourth command you can perform is to kill. When you kill an agent, you're flipping it face down. It is essentially a dead zone, but it still counts as an agent for all other intents and purposes. And the fifth action is to revive an agent by flipping them back face up, and when you do that, you are allowed to change the orientation. After performing 2 actions, you then move on to your mission phase. It is at this point you can take missions that you have in your hand and assign them between your factions. When you assign a mission to your faction, you're assigning it to one of the faction's sides, and so each side can only have 1 mission. During the mission phase, you're allowed to assign, remove, and even move missions in between the sides and factions you control. After you finish moving your missions however you like, you move on to the points phase. During the points phase, you'll score a number of points depending on 2 things. First, you'll score 1 point for each of the matching data arrows that are pointed towards you, whether it is white or black. So here, player 1 would not earn any tokens because of that. However, if this card was placed as such, we now have 2 halves, making an entire whole arrow pointed towards yourself, and so they would score 1 IP token. Whether it is white or black, completed token halves will only award you 1 point, but if the 2 token halves don't match, they will award you no points. And if a token half isn't connected to anything, such as this, it is known as an unjoined half, and also awards no points. After scoring points for any completed arrows pointed towards you, you would then score points based on the missions you control. If you fulfill any of the requirements of the missions within your factions, you will score points based on that specific mission. So here the witness mission says if there are no dead agents in both of your factions, you will score 2 points. And so player 1 will add 2 more points to their pool. It's important to note that you can only have the same mission once between your 2 factions. And so the 4 missions that you decide to place must all be unique. You can still buy a mission of the same name that you already own to keep it away from another player, but you wouldn't be able to place it. Although there is no limit on how many mission cards you can have in your hand, unlike agent cards. After you finish scoring your data tokens and mission cards, your turn is over and play will proceed in clockwise order. The game continues as such until one player scores 40 IP tokens. After this happens, the game will end once every player has an equal number of turns. So here, if player 2 achieves their 40th token, even if they go higher than that, this game will end once player 3 finishes their turn, because then all players would have had an equal number of turns. Once the game ends, whomever has the highest combined token values is the winner. And that's how you play the Agents. It's a quick and simple game that has a lot of engaging decisions you can make. You have to decide whether you're going to build the best point pool for yourself at the end of each of your turns, or if you go out of your way to sabotage another player's point pool. Every time you place a card down for yourself, you're giving something to your opponents. So you have to decide what that is and whether it's worth the risk. If you enjoyed this tutorial, consider liking and subscribing to the channel to support the future release of more videos. But that's all for now. I want to thank you all for watching. So let's keep on rolling.